Hey, welcome back. It's Sarah from Roadworthy. Just when I think the rains are coming, we get another sunny day. I'm sure you're thinking my complaining about all the rain in Seattle is just a crock, but it's not. I'm telling you, it's coming. I had a pretty strange reading week this week, so let me hop to it. I finished Indigiqueerness by Joshua Whitehead. This is, I don't know, is this a chat book? I don't know. This is a conversation about storytelling between Joshua and Angie Abdu. And it's really his thoughts on obviously storytelling, but his role as an artist and a writer. You know, what is the purpose of writing? I find it so interesting to hear people talk about their art and their craft and how they think about it. This is very, very short. I mean, this is like an hour. It's kind of interesting. There's basically 10 kind of questions that Angie asks that he answers. There's quotes from other writers in here, you know, Billy Ray Belcourt, Richard Wagamese is in here, and there's photos. Let me see. You know, just different little snippets, and I just think, again, if you're interested in hearing writers talk about their art, I think about this as like something that Vivek Shraya would also put out, you know. I think like Vivek, I think Joshua Whitehead, it's interesting to just hear his thoughts on how sort of he feels writing has informed his sexuality, how his sexuality has informed his writing, you know, how he feels that queerness and indigeneity impact his art, and just the intersection of all those kinds of things. So just an interesting little food for thought little number. Then I finally finished Troubles by J.G. Farrell. This is a failed buddy read with Priscilla at Evening Reader. So Priscilla bailed at about, I don't know, I think halfway. So I'm sure on her channel she'll talk about it, but J.G. Farrell is sort of interesting. He was born in England, but he's of Irish descent, and this book was published in 1970, and it's listed as the winner of the Lost Booker Prize. So this book is about Brendan Archer, aka the Major, and he goes to the Majestic Hotel in Ireland to see if he is indeed betrothed to Angela Spencer. He doesn't remember ever proposing to her, but she writes to him all throughout his service in World War I, you know, signed off as like his loving fiance. And so he gets to the Majestic and sees Angela, and her whole family is quite unusual. And they're running this hotel that is quite literally falling apart. You know, I love a lot of the descriptions of the hotel falling apart. So there's, you know, at one point part of the roof collapses, there's plaster falling down, there's you know, cats are taking over the Imperial Bar. My favorite is the Palm Court, which literally the palms have taken over. So you've got roots coming up through the floor. You have vines, sort of, overgrowing and encasing the tables and chairs. And in fact, the room at some point in the book becomes unusable. And then you've also got the permanent denizens of the hotel, which is this gaggle of elderly spinsters who don't pay their bills. And this is definitely political satire with the Majestic Hotel serving as a metaphor for the British Empire itself. One of the reviewers on Goodreads described this book as Fawlty Towers meets Jane Eyre in slow motion. And I think that is the perfect description, actually. So there are these wonderful comic set pieces, and then there's these long stretches where seemingly nothing's happening. You've got bridge tournaments and tea and, dressing for dinner, and then as the book goes on and the violence in Ireland is increasing and the violence is getting closer and closer to the Majestic Hotel, there is still this tone of these people blithely carrying on as if nothing's happening. And then, they're just completely isolated, completely removed from the violence that is literally happening in their village. They, even as events escalate and things actually happen to the residents of the Majestic, they just are completely, oblivious to what the Irish might be upset about. And, they make these casual comments illustrating their disdain for the Irish that they liken to, small children having a fit. So, the pace of this book could be very frustrating. Again, you have these long stretches of people making nasty comments and playing bridge and, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, bam, there'll be some event of, animal, murder, and nobody seems to care. Nobody comments or reflects on it or anything. They just keep going about their business. So, I can totally see why this is, a Booker book, in that, again, the pacing, the tone, the 450 page count, the plotting, it all feels very, very deliberate, and I think is very cleverly done and very cleverly crafted. But I wouldn't say as a reader this was particularly enjoyable. Some of the comedy and satire, again, was quite funny, but again, I just felt like it could be frustratingly slow in places. There are definitely people in Goodreads who love this book. So yeah, I'm not sure whether to recommend it or not. I don't know. Again, just from a craft perspective, I feel like this was very well done. And again, the pacing, the tone, all of that is very, very deliberate. Like I said, I just didn't find it enjoyable to actually read. And then during this same period of time, I read Elizabeth Strout's debut novel, Amy and Isabelle. I have actually never read an Elizabeth Strout novel, and I absolutely loved this one. So, Amy and Isabelle are a mother-daughter pair. So Isabelle is a cold, distant, this resentful, lonely, persnickety woman who, desperately wants to be accepted in town. She's very particular about her dress and appearance and behavior and being proper. And Amy is her 15-year-old daughter who's, sort of dutiful and gentle and biddable. But Isabelle is always, sit up straight, don't smack your gum, you can't get your ears pierced, and as, you can, Strout is so good at making you see how desperately these characters want to be easy with one another and want to express their love for one another, but they can't. It's like all the time. Isabelle, as the novel goes on, it becomes clear that Isabelle is jealous of Amy's beauty, Amy's, Amy's maturing while Isabelle sees herself declining. And Amy starts, she's physically maturing in this book, right? And she's rebelling. You see her, she starts smoking. She starts swearing. She starts, running around with questionable characters. Is starting to recognize in her own sexuality and her own sexual appeal. I don't want to say too much about the plot of this book, but I think what Strout does so well and so amazingly for a debut novel is really portray the interiority of these characters. Their hopes, their embarrassments, their shames. You can feel them cringing on the page sometimes, feeling their awkwardness, and their desire to just be loved and accepted. She does that so well. The other thing that I think she does so well in this book is there are other side characters who have their own issues. We have illness, divorce, affairs, just, the gamut of life, right? And all of this is just these side dramas are so effortlessly embedded into the main narrative. I was really pleasantly shocked at how much I really, really, really enjoyed this book. Definitely, I will pick up The Burgess Boys, which is her next book and sort of set in the same community, I understand. Hopefully in the coming year, because I was just really, really super impressed and really invested in what these two characters were going through. So I've got a knitting retreat coming up, so that's happening, and that's it. I'm honestly, I'm really will be surprised if I'm outside again anytime soon. So anyway, I hope your fall weather is fantastic wherever you are. And I'm looking forward to chatting with you all next week. All right. Thanks. See ya.